Hi, I'm Dr. Isaac Alexis from the Slim Samurai Group 84, helping you to slash through sickness and offering you a slice of health and wellness. Today's topic is hypertension, barriers to combat in the African American community. Once again, hypertension, barriers to combat in the African American community. Before I continue, don't forget to smash on that subscribe button, click on the notification bell, share with 25 people, comment so I know what to talk on the next topics medically, and also give it a like as well. Now, according to the World Health Organization, the WHO, approximately some 1.1 billion people worldwide have hypertension. Now, you may be asking, Dr. Alexis, what is the exact definition of hypertension in that case? And I will respond to you, that's a great question, samurais, samurettes. According to the American College of Cardiology, the daytime average of the top number, called the systolic blood pressure, greater than or equal to 130, or the bottom number, which is known as diastolic, greater than or equal to 80, on several occasions is the general standard by which we inclusively make the diagnostic definition of hypertension. Now, in general, here's an important caveat. So I want you to listen very carefully. In general, home readings correlate more closely with the results of daytime ambulatory measurements than with blood pressures that are typically obtained in the clinician's physician office maybe once a year or whenever you are at the physician's office. That home reading is pretty much where your true blood pressure lies. Lots of time you come to the doctor's office, you're nervous, you're anxious, you see the white lab coat, you automatically think you're in trouble. And your heart starts racing, and that's going to totally throw off your true blood pressure reading when it's going to be reading sky high, maybe 200 over 140. And that's not really the true, accurate reading of your blood pressure. You just 10 minutes previous to coming to the doctor's office, you've been cut off in traffic, so you're agitated. You might have had to wait a little bit longer in the doctor's office. That also adds more systolic points, so pressure's steadily going up. And then when you finally see the doctor, your heart's just racing 100 times a minute. Your mouth is dry. It's that fight or flight response, and it feels like you can't even catch your breath. You practically feel like you're having a panic attack. And so, by no means is that your true and normal blood pressure. You've just experienced a release of norepinephrine, and so your top number, systolic blood pressure, and your bottom number, the diastolic blood pressure, is going to be helter-skelter. It's way off, so don't be alarmed. Now, hypertension is generally confirmed by repeated home blood pressure measures that are reading above 130 over 80. Now, as it relates to African Americans, approximately 50 to 54% of us have hypertension by prevalence. Now, what can be done to improve these numbers? We know that untreated hypertension leads to strokes, heart attacks, congestive heart failure, kidney failure. My grandmother passed away from complications related to stroke, secondary to hypertension. Now, these are some of the barriers as African Americans we encounter, and so I'm going to go over them. And this is going to be several series long because it is an important topic. Now, for instance, when we come in the clinic, we want to be greeted and spoken to in a nice manner, not looked at as if we were an inconvenience. African American patients generally feel more at ease. The studies have shown, this is not me saying it, but the studies have shown with African American physicians who they feel they share a similar background with. Now, also, we want to be told if a diagnosis of hypertension is made, what are our next steps? We also want to be scheduled back in less than 3 months so we know that this is a serious matter. Our blood pressure, for the end results could be heart failure, heart attacks, strokes, kidney failure. We also want to be told that this is a serious matter. And what I just mentioned, what some of the untreated effects of hypertension would eventually cause us. I get tons of African Americans that tell me they felt that they were rushed and that they felt like they were inconvenienced at their last doctor's appointment. They report to me, many of the doctors that are doing this are non-African American physicians, and these same patients tell me that they're never going back to that physician's office because they felt like they were disrespected. And so that helps no one. If the patient doesn't return, then how's the blood pressure going to be treated? So you may be asking, my Slim Samurais and Samurettes, Dr. Lexus, what can we do about this? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to tell you exactly what to do as it relates to hypertension control in African Americans. Of course, I treat hypertension in all peoples, but I'm focusing on the hypertension African American community because it's at an all-time high. Typical diets that are delicious, those ham hocks, mac and cheese, collard greens, that's loaded with as much salt as the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean combined, that don't help matters. So I'm really going to dig deep into this so that we can get some answers and regulate that high blood pressure. Now, let's look at some of the modalities that can help our communities. Having high visibility for building trust with program participants and the community. Now, this repeat visibility can be achieved via radio, television, and most importantly, faith-based organizations. If it's coming from the pastor, the elder, it holds more weight. That go and get your blood pressure checked. And if you hear it from leaders in your faith organizations to consume diets rich in fresh fruits, vegetables, low in sodium, that's going to go a lot further than the traditional physician saying that. Now, incentives should be provided to members of the African American community, such as barbers, hairstylists, faith organizations, health educators, because that encourages much more participation community-wide. This can't be done on an individual basis. People tend to feel like they're being singled out, and so this has to be addressed community-wide. Systems-wide approach is generally best in the African American community. There must also be an active going into the field to learn about the needs of our communities. For instance, in healthy food choices, it will be very helpful to identify places where very specific healthy food types can be started on the same day, not next week. Like, for instance, the DASH diet that I had discussed in my prior videos, and the benefits of the management of high blood pressure. Also, programs should not only identify health problems in program participants, but have resources also to connect them to the referrals where they can start care now. Another thing to note, hypertension is not an isolated condition. There must be programs that also address diabetes and obesity concurrently, which is quite high in African American communities. And programs that address these overlapping needs are even more efficacious in addressing the initial concerns and management of hypertension. I'm going to continue more. This is part one of this series, and I'm still going to deal with mental health, 5 steps to mental tranquility, but I think that hypertension is something that's also very critical to understand. I'm Dr. Isaac Alexis from the Slim Samurai Group 84, helping you to take a slash out of sickness and providing you a slice of health and wellness. God bless.